Okay, we had an exclusive story yesterday about some sex ed lessons taught to 4th and 5th graders in the Olympia School District. I've had a lot of people asking, what school district? Well, you got to go read the story, but it's the Lincoln Elementary, or what school? Lincoln Elementary School in the Olympia School District, to our knowledge, is the only place this happened. And it was 4th and 5th graders. So if you got a 4th or 5th grader at a Lincoln Elementary, there's a good chance that on May 9th, they got these weird lessons from this person with a teen council from Planned Parenthood. So what I wanted to do today, because we mentioned in our story, in our reporting yesterday, that parents were told their kids were going to get a sex ed lesson. It wasn't like some big surprise, but they were told it was going to be approved, what's called flash curriculum for this age group. So parents went into it thinking, okay, we've been given a heads up as to what our kids are going to learn today. That prepares us to talk to our kids about it if they have questions when they come home. Of course, parents were not prepared to reach into their kids' backpacks and pull out the book from hell of what their kids were actually taught in school. So what I want to do is compare and contrast so you can see how inappropriate what they were taught was versus what they should have been taught and sort of the age appropriateness of that. So as a reminder, one of the pages in this pamphlet that kids were got showed all these mock-ups, these little drawings of penises and vaginas, okay? And it talked about how, it had like dozens of examples, and it showed intersex organs and what they'd look like. It had a picture of a vagina with like a cat face on it and just all these different, basically saying every body is a good body, and your private parts might look like one of these and they might not. It's impossible to capture all the variations, etc. So that's what these kids were given. Now compare that to the approved flash curriculum, which is incredibly, I would say, scientific. It's very medical. It's just got charts that say, here's the reproductive system for a male, and here's the reproductive system for a female, and it shows the side view and the front view, and it has little numbers that point to all the parts and tells you what the part is and what it does. It's just a little black and white drawing. Like, to me, that's much better than a picture of a vagina with a cat face shaved into it or something.
This is the worksheet. So they're supposed to learn the parts and then label the parts. That's the worksheet. And that's actually supposed to be the handout.
Right. And so that is miles different than the weirdness that they were shown and they were given. So you'll also remember that there was a page in the pamphlet that they were given by this Planned Parenthood person that showed examples of things that the kids might need for puberty. Okay, which on its face, I don't have a problem with for 4th and 5th graders. It said supplies that could be helpful during puberty. You get to choose what works for you. And it had, really harmless things like pads and tampons and deodorant and jock straps and razors and training bras. But then on the page, it also had a picture of a puberty blocker, an actual implant using the brand name Supraline LA, saying it's a small flexible implant, and it had a picture of it. Again, normalizing that as something these children might need for puberty next to a picture of a razor and deodorant, which some people pointed out, it's like Degree deodorant, like brand name.
Apparently they're
Degree
endorsing a specific brand.
Does Degree get like a little cut from that? So anyway, that's what the Planned Parenthood person showed these kids versus what they were actually supposed to be shown in this flash approved for grades 4 through 6, which again is a worksheet. It's just a worksheet. It says name and date. It says directions. Put the letter of each word next to the correct definition of the word. And it has stuff on there. And this is one of the many things that were in the worksheet about puberty, but it talks about, So it has the word, the words, I think for kids, these might be like, oh, hey, mom and dad, what does this mean? But it has like the word erection, menstruation, nocturnal emission, egg cell, puberty, sperm cell, pituitary. Is that sweat gland?
Yeah.
What is pituitary?
Pituitary gland that controls everything.
Oh, okay. Wow. See, I'm learning something from this more than 5th grade. And then you had to match it to what it means. For instance, one of the options is the cell from a person with a uterus and ovaries that can start a pregnancy. I love how they say person as opposed to a woman or a female. But you see how it's a very mundane version of the little spreadsheet that had pictures of things, including a puberty blocker implant, where a kid goes like, I just can't even imagine. So the other thing that these kids were taught, as we discussed yesterday, is they were shown this gender wheel that was created by this woman who identifies as like a Chicanx gender queer fembot something. And so anyway, the gender wheel that the kids were given, it's like this movable wheel that shows them all the variations of how someone can look and identify. And it says, words and ways of thinking are changing all the time as old limiting beliefs transform and evolve. And you can turn the wheel to say that I'm intersex and I present as a agender person and my pronoun is tree.
Yeah, apparently if you wear a beanie, you might identify as a tree.
As a tree. As a tree. Okay, and this is just wild stuff, okay? Right. It's absolutely wild stuff. And then in the approved Flash education cards, again, this is what parents expected. It talks about gender, but in terms of gender stereotypes, which I don't particularly have an issue with. For instance, it has, gender stereotypes for women and girls might be that they wear skirts, that they take care of babies, that they cry, that they are pretty, that they stay clean. Men and boys stereotypes might be that they're strong, they like sports, they get dirty, they get mad, they make money. So it's just teaching these 4th and 5th graders that, hey, these gender stereotypes might not always align, and that's okay.
Right. I think in this grade is about when you learn stereotypes and how not everybody fits into a type, and that's okay. And you can be you and just not be like everybody else.
Yeah, we used to call it tomboy. Oh, they're a tomboy. So I think it's pretty wild, the discrepancy. And I'm curious for you guys who are watching live, if you feel as if the Flash curriculum that parents were told about is age appropriate. Obviously, I think most of us, 99.9% of us, would agree that the one that the kids were shown is certainly not age appropriate. But the question in our sort of effort moving forward is going to be hear back from the Olympia School District about not only how is this allowed to happen, but did any actual staff know, or were they present? Because if this happened in a classroom, right? Did the teacher leave the classroom and then the Planned Parenthood person came in and took over? I have to imagine the teacher would stick around, right, for a sex ed class. So why didn't they stop it? Why didn't they stop it when they knew this wasn't what kids were supposed to be learning? And why did it take parents reaching out to the school for the school to be told about, or for parents to be told about it? So I think there's a lot of questions about, and did you already reach out to the superintendent of public instruction?
Not yet.
Kruse? So we're going to reach out because he had been very
to...
clear that, this kind of stuff wasn't going to make its way into schools. And so we need to talk to them about how do you stop individual presenters from going off script, and is it appropriate to have someone from Planned Parenthood coming in and talking to kids? Because I tend to think it's not appropriate because you can't control them and they're not accountable to anyone. So anyway, a completely unbelievable story about what happened in the school district. And if you have any tips or anything about what your kids are being taught, we would love to hear about them. Go to undividedpod.com, undividedpod.com, and you can get that information to us. So simply unbelievable.